Hello and welcome to another episode of the Maxi-Geek Show. Today is Friday, July 1st, so happy financial new year to people who care about that thing. Today is episode number 25, so we are literally halfway through the year and halfway through the Maxi-Geek Show for the year. It's been a bit of a weird week. We were busy for one specific day, but then we were quiet for the others. So it's sort of been all over the place in terms of the news that was going on for the week. But there has been, a fair bit of news. So when I say a fair bit, I mean outside of the Direct, which we'll get into in a moment. But there's been, some big news for the week. Plus there's also the old, start of month things that we sort of go through as well. So we're not going to talk about all the news from the week that was, purely because, some of it is just generic updates. Some of it is very small and minor things and all that sort of stuff. So we're just going to leave it some of the bigger things. Then we'll get into the Direct stuff. Then we'll get into the start of month things at the end. But with that, we're actually going to kick off with something a little different today. And that is that Sony have decided to make some new headphones. And I know what you're thinking, Luke, they already make headphones. What are you talking about? Cool, but these are gaming headphones. And now I know what you're thinking, Luke, they already make the PlayStation 5 3D audio gaming headset. What are you talking about? No, Sony are actually getting into the PC gaming space. So PlayStation themselves are not involved with this. This is not a PlayStation thing, this is a Sony thing. And I know that seems a little weird. But it's like me saying that Marvel are making a movie, and technically it's a Disney thing, but it's everyone just goes it's Marvel, right? This is the case here. So the InZone is the brand that all this is going under, and in Australia there'll be 3 headsets launching. Sony Australia have said late July. EB Games has 1st of August for theirs thing, so I'm just going to go with late July because that came from Sony PR themselves. But yeah, so they're launching 3 headsets here in Japan. They're launching a PC gaming monitor that if you do plug a PlayStation 5 into it will, support variable refresh rates and all the other bells and whistles that you would expect. So the big thing with this is that they're taking the technology and experience they've had with building their headphones they've been making for years and years and years in their music area, and taking the 3D audio technology and all the other sort of stuff that they've done in their gaming space for PlayStation, because they've been doing that for since the early days of the PS4. They've been really getting into audio on the PlayStation side of things, and they're basically combining that into sort of one super headset, if you will. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying this is like the ultimate headset. I'm just saying they're sort of taking the best of both of everything they make and creating these headsets. So there are 3 models. There's the InZone H3, the InZone H7, and the InZone H9. So basically, these are the PlayStation 3D audio headset, but for your for your computer. But they will work with other things as well. So we'll get into that in a moment. All the headsets will support 3D spatial sound. So if you do have them connected to your computer and you have the software running on the PC, that'll give you the 3D audio as part of all that process. What they're saying though is that like some of them will take a 2-channel audio signal and auto convert it to a 7.1 channel. So that may work for you, it may not work for you. It's just unfortunately one of those things where it's going to really depend on the type of gamer you are and how fussy you are with your audio setup. But if we go through, we have a quick look at the H9. The H9 is the only one that comes with active noise cancellation. So it is a completely wireless headset, and it has a 32-hour battery life with the noise cancellation turned off. So if you do have noise cancellation going, you will actually have a bit less battery life. The upside is that 10 minutes on charge will give you 60 minutes of use, and you can have it connected to the power while you are playing or making use of it. You just have to be aware of that. It is a fairly sort of heavy headset at 330 grams is the approximate weight, and it is very, very pricey at $450. So it's definitely not one for, you know, somebody who just wants a headset for, you know, their Discord chats or anything like that. But it is there. Now, in terms of what it features in terms of connectivity, it is, as I said, a wireless headset. So it will connect to your computer via the included 2.4 gigahertz dongle. Or if you have Bluetooth on your device, so using a laptop or a tablet, you can connect directly via that. If you do happen to have, you know, you're at a desktop PC or a desktop Mac and you're using the dongle, you can actually use the dongle to connect the headset to the PC, and then the Bluetooth to connect to your phone and go back and forth between the two. So that's the H9, it's the big one. The H7 is actually very, very similar to the H9, except it just doesn't include noise cancellation. It has the same driver size. The weight is literally 5 grams less, according to Sony. It has better battery life at 40 hours because there's no noise cancellation, you know, tech inside. It has the dual connections between, say, a PC and mobile at the same time, and as I said, it's completely wireless. All the headsets have the lift to mute boom arm as well, so it's not removable, which is always a big gripe of mine on these headsets, is that these microphones always stand out. They're never, you know, removable or retractable. The headset that I'm wearing now is the Steel Series Nova Pro, and the microphone for that is actually a retractable one. So that's definitely like a preferred option for me, but I prefer not to have them at all. But this is a gaming headset, so it makes sense. This is also $350, so it is $100 less. So if you're someone who doesn't care about noise cancellation, but you want a wireless headset, this is the one you would go for. The cheapest model is actually $150, and that's the InZone H3. Now, the reason why this is, you know, cheap, as I said, it is a corded model. Interestingly, though, it is a 3.5mm connector, so it's the same standard connector that you would, you have on your phones or your old phones, or you would use with a dongle. It's the same thing that your Switch has, your PlayStation controller has, your Xbox controller has. You know, so all the old sort of technology that we've been using since the 80s is still using this 3.5mm adapter. It does, however, come with a USB connector for your computer. When you plug it in there, it actually, you know, enhances the functionality of the headset. It will not work with your phone. You can't plug this USB connector to your phone to try and get enhanced functionality. It is only for PCs at this time, but it is there as an option. I think this is a fantastic thing, mostly because, you know, having more headsets on the market is a very good thing, because we've had for far too long, it's been the same, you know, 4 or 5 brands, you know, doing things. And I say that, and I review headsets quite frequently. I reviewed this one, the Steel Series. Earlier in the year, I reviewed a HyperX. I reviewed the Rig series. I reviewed Razers, you know, and an Alienware. I think the only one I haven't done, I've done JBL, there's JBL behind me. The only one I haven't done a lot lately, obviously, is like Roccat or Logitech, right? But that's really sort of the big brands in terms of gaming headsets. There are, you know, more affordable brands, you know, like Nokia. They do things like you see those at Big W and places like that. But these are designed for, they're not designed for, I should say, they're designed, you know, they're more focused at the gaming side of things. You do get the occasional one from, say, Logitech or Razer, where they try and promote it as being, you know, a studio headset, where they're saying, you know, oh, it's the same sort of technology inside that you know, a company would use in a recording studio. It's not. It never is, but it's marketing speaks. They try to do it that way. You know, we see it with Turtle Beach. You know, they try and do that sort of spin as well. The most recent one for that is EPOS. EPOS sort of has that pedigree. They can claim that because the company, so EPOS, as a company, was actually started up by Sennheiser. So Sennheiser have been doing speakers and audio equipment for like 100 years now. They were the first ones. They spun up this brand. It was doing okay. They weren't really happy with the results, so they ended up selling off the business to another company. They got the brand name and all the bits and pieces. So if you're looking at the Sennheiser headsets that they're making for music and the Sennheiser gaming headsets, they look very, very similar still, because there's still that cross, you know, design ethos. So they're about the only ones I would really say have that we make a gaming headset that it can be an audio headset. Sony's now the next one that I would put in that classification. Sony for years have had headsets. I know someone who's got a Sony headset. He's had it for like 8 years now. The thing is gross and busted and needs to be replaced, but he just won't get rid of it because the sound quality is so fantastic. So them taking that sort of approach from the music side of things and the comfort of people who wear these things consistently every day, and then sort of the 3D audio tech from the PlayStation and the other sort of gaming related enhancements from that space, bringing it into sort of one, as I said, mega headset is probably a very, very good thing. We will have to obviously wait and see how this is all going to shake out. Sony have invited me to go check this out in a couple of weeks as well before they go on sale, around the country. So we'll report back on that once we have that, sort of hands-on experience or ears-on experience, if you will. But yeah, as I say, it's just more something to keep an eye on for it. Something to keep an eye on for, though, is that in September, the Sanderson sisters will return. So we've known for quite a while now that Hocus Pocus, the apparently, much beloved Halloween movie from, 1993, which stars Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy, was getting a sequel. And it is a Disney Plus original movie, so there's no cinema release for this one, you just watch it at home. We knew it was coming on September 30th. We'd seen some pictures of the actresses in their outfits. We got one last year as part of the Disney Plus Day, but this week we actually got the first teaser trailer for it. Now, obviously, for copyright and stuff, I cannot play it with the audio, but I will throw the story in the chat there. The one thing that I do think is hilarious is, so you've got, Bette Midler's character up here, she's on a regular style broom. Sarah Jessica Parker's, you've got her, she's on like a Swiffer, like one of those little dusty things. And then Kathy Najimy's, you've got her, she's on a pair of Roombas. So it is there. So let me just, we'll mute this while it plays. So Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy are all back. They're doing the, reprising their roles. At the moment, there's no word on any of the other actors from the original movie, making significant roles, making an appearance in significant roles for this production. That being said, though, Jason Marsden, who voices, he's the voice of the cat whose name I can't remember. He's done a lot of stuff over the years, reprising that sort of role in things and all that. You're probably not wrong there, Tabs. Bette Midler has, she's had that sort of iconic look for a number of years now. Obviously, age is a big factor, but she still looks very much the same. So it is very interesting that she still looks. They all still look very, very similar to what they did in the movie from 29 years ago, but just older, which is not something you can say about a lot of characters over the years. So, and we'll get a good look at them in a moment here. So yeah, I said they did release a couple of screenshots stills from the trailer, and I said there's the three girls there. I watched Hocus Pocus in full for the first time last year. It was never anything for me. I know a lot of folks that are American that love this movie. They think it is the best Halloween movie because they grew up with it. It released, as I said, in 1993, and it sort of became a bit of a cult classic, if you will, where they kept showing things off over and over again. So, yeah, I don't personally, I'm not like chomping at the bit to see this one, but I do think it's interesting that, they are doing it. And it's not, they're not shoehorning it in, they're not just doing a cheap throwaway. They are putting a lot of time and effort into this. Strangely enough, this is not the first time the three actresses have, rejoined and dressed up that way. Bette Midler hosts a charity thing once a year, where she gets herself and her other celebrity friends together, and they try and raise money for a charity of the choice of somebody. And a couple of years ago, they all dressed up as these characters. Winifred, I can't think of their names now either. Again, I'm not connected to the movie like many other people I know are, So, but yeah, it does look cool. You know, it'd definitely be something that I'll watch, but as I said, I'm not really sort of chomping at the bit to get into it. Speaking of things to get into, though, we're going to go through some of the Nintendo Direct news. Obviously, we're not going to go through everything in the Direct, even though it was a mini Direct, and I'll put mini in quotes there. It was still quite a bit. It was more packed than most people were expecting, I think. So, the first game I want to talk about is probably the one that is the most unique from the presentation, and that is Flunk. So even though it's pronounced Blunk, it looks like blank, but you know, with a C instead of a K. So it's sort of emphasizing the opening there. But so Flunk is a game where you take control of a fawn, so a baby deer, and a fox or a baby fox, and you have to sort of get them back home. So it's very much Homeward Bound. You know, the concept of Homeward Bound meets the Fox and the Hound. That was not intentional. I didn't mean for that to rhyme in that way, but that's what it is. The thing with this one, though, is that there's no spoken text on the screen. There's obviously going to be audio cues and music and such, but there's no way for you to actively, you know, get story from the game apart from the visuals. Thank you, Tabs. It did rhyme. I do appreciate the visuals. Obviously, you know, when you see it in stills, you can see that it is very heavy on the, you know, the geometry here, like the building and the wall here is very, very prominent. But when it's in motion, it looks very, very smooth. So it is coming to Switch and PC next year in February, and it is a Switch exclusive. So if you do want to play this game on a console, you have to have a Switch. Otherwise, it is a PC only for you. The thing that I find interesting about it is it's Gearbox that are publishing it. So Gearbox Publishing is an arm that Gearbox started up to help bring other games to market. And yeah, they're publishing this one. So they haven't brought anything over to Switch since Bulletstorm. A couple of, like a year and a bit ago, the Bulletstorm game was ported to Switch. Might have been a bit more than that now. Obviously, you know, we've got the Borderlands games on Switch, but you know, that's 2K themselves. So yeah, this is sort of very, very rare treat from Gearbox. Speaking of treats, we have the first sort of gameplay footage for Dragon Quest Treasures. So Dragon Quest Treasures was announced, nearly 2 years ago now, and many people assumed it was going to be a mobile game based on, you know, the description of it. But they said no, it's a Switch game. We got a brief look last year, and when I say brief look, I'm talking about 8 seconds worth of footage. It wasn't a whole lot. And then on Dragon Quest Day back in April, they showed off another little brief bit of footage, but they said we'll have more information in June. And they did, if only just because it was part of the Nintendo Direct. So Dragon Quest Treasures is a spin-off of the older Dragon Quest games, where it's a lot, sort of more like a Pokemon style adventure where you have monsters as part of your party. But this one is using Erika and Mia from Dragon Quest 11. I'm not going to say the full name for it because I don't have time for that one. But basically, what the game is all about is that you head out to, you know, parts of the world, and you attempt to find treasures. The more that you find and bring back, the more rewards you can get, the more money, which you can then use to buy gear and all that sort of stuff. And with better gear, you can go to better locations. The big thing, as I said, though, is that you can use the monsters from the Dragon Quest series of games. So, you know, you can see there's a slime, there's a knight. In one of the things, there's a golem. But it's not just that they're not just part of your party where they'll just fight for you. You can make use of the abilities. So you saw there with the slime, you can bounce on it to bounce higher. Here with the bat, you can use it to glide. We saw before him riding one of the tiger cubs. So it's more about taking, you know, the sort of familiar Dragon Quest stuff and doing something different with it, which is very much what they did with Dragon Quest Builders and Builders 2. They took that very, very familiar experience and made something different for it. As we just saw there, the game is coming to Switch on December 9. At this time, it is a Switch exclusive. There's nothing from Square Enix about it coming to other platforms. It's not to say that it won't. Yeah, Tab. So Dragon Quest Monsters, this is sort of the updated version. It's not the updated version, but it's like a new take on that style of game. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. But yeah, so there's nothing from Square Enix about this game coming to any other platforms, but it may do so because Square Enix do like to do that. Octopath Traveler was a Switch exclusive. It was published by Nintendo, but it's now coming to other platforms as well. So they're not opposed to keeping things as Switch exclusives for some time before they eventually bring it across to other platforms. Now, speaking of things that are going to all the other platforms, we actually got a good look at Sonic Frontiers during the week, and it's probably the best look at the game we've ever had. So Sonic Frontiers is the new 3D Sonic game from Sonic Team at Sega, and when the first trailer or first gameplay footage of it released as part of the IGN first banner thing that they do, nobody was impressed with it. Even the most diehard Sonic fans were concerned that this game was absolutely barren. There was nothing going on. The world had nothing in it. And when you got into the combat, it was just one enemy in a giant area. There was nothing going on. What is interesting is we actually got, as I said, the new trailer. But what is cool about this is the trailer itself highlights a bit more about the game itself. So this is the Switch footage. So if you do notice pop in and all that sort of stuff, it may be because of that. It may be because the game itself is still in development. The original early footage as well had the same problems. But what is very interesting about this is throughout the world there are these doors, if you will, and these again, I'm just going to call them doors. They require keys to unlock. The keys can be various shapes because they've got to match the doors. Once you've found them, you'll enter what is called cyberspace. Not a very original name, I know, but it is Sonic Team, so they have these very weird things. And here we can see one of these doors. So once you activate it and enter, you actually enter these more traditional 3D Sonic style locations. So you see here Green Hill style. There was one before, it was a very city driven style. And in these locations, that is where players will discover a lot of familiar things from the game. The open world is more akin to a Breath of the Wild location, where the best way I can describe it is the doors themselves are more like the shrines from Breath of the Wild. When you go in them, there's a dedicated level, and you can run around and experience it and do everything within that level, and then once you're done, you leave the level, go back to whichever part of the world you were in. So the main overworld hub location isn't devoid of things to do, but the cyberspace locations have a lot more going on in them. What is interesting is we saw at the end of the trailer there, so this new character here up floating behind or beside the giant mech thing, that is Sage. That is the unknown, not unknown, but that is the mysterious person that is sort of around getting in the way here. We do know that the story is set up that basically Sonic, Tails and Amy are off on a little adventure, and as they're flying around, a portal appears, and in the portal they all get sucked in, and then they wake up on the Starfall Islands, which is where the game is set. Very good, Tabs. So they're all sort of separated on this new land, and then Sonic has to go around and try and find them. So that's sort of the setup for it. There is obviously more going on, but Sega are being very coy about that for now, which makes perfect sense. Speaking of things that may not make sense, but I'm very excited for anyway, and that is Harvestella is coming to PC and Switch in November. So Harvestella is a farming game meets Final Fantasy. At one point, it has a lot of Rune Factory elements to it. Like if you're trying to compare them to other farming games, it's probably more Rune Factory than Harvest Moon or Story of Seasons. But it's also more Final Fantasy than those. So I called it Farming Fantasy, to someone the other day, and it sort of made me chuckle. But Harvestella has... let me throw the trailer on here. Harvestella is a farming game / RPG in that the seasons take 30 days, 30 in-game days, not 30 real-world days, to tick by. There are 4 seasons that you'll go through, basically, winter, spring, summer, and autumn. But at the end of the 4th season, a 5th season occurs. So this world has 5 seasons, and the 5th season is called Quietus. And when Quietus arrives, nothing can grow. The air becomes toxic. People don't leave their homes because it's too dangerous for them. Monsters start to appear. They appear in town. They appear out more in the wilds, which we're seeing a bit of the map of. So the world really becomes a very, very dangerous place for the length of this season. So during this time, the player has to go around and either, be very, very cautious on everything they're doing if they don't have the supplies, or if they've got the supplies, rushing out and trying to cause, trying to fight back against this disaster season, if you will. So we see here this meteorite coming in for the Quietus. What is interesting though is that at any point you cannot farm. You can go out and explore and kill monsters and all that sort of stuff, or you cannot do that during the regular seasons and just focus on the farming. So it's not like Rune Factory or even Stardew Valley, where they're making combat, it's not a 50-50 split. It's more about what you want to do. But beyond that, once you're ready to go out and do some combat, you can actually pick jobs. So much like many of the other Final Fantasy games, there's fighter, shadow walker, mage, and those jobs will vary up how you behave in combat and what options and skills you've got available to you. So what is very interesting for me is that everything outside the farming feels very Final Fantasy, but everything inside the farming feels very Story of Seasons. So I think it's going to be something that's quite interesting to see in motion, mostly because to play, mostly because it is going to be it's not a unique thing. Others, Stardew Valley and Story of Seasons, Rune Factory, they all do these things where it's farming is one half of the game and something, another function is another part of it. But I just think with all the different things going on, especially with that 5th season, it can be very, very different. The game's also coming out on November 4th, so it's not too far away. It's not one of these ones that's announced now and out sometime next year. But yeah, I'm very, very keen on this one because I do like a good farming game. They've not said anything about any of that, Tabs. So obviously, in the Twitch chat here, Tabs has mentioned about romancing an endgame boss or anything like that. So in a lot of other farming games like Harvest Moon, Story Seasons, Rune Factory, one of the big things is to meet the love of your life, and marry them and raise a family and all that sort of stuff. As a farming game, it's apparently a pretty requested thing these days that any farming game has this. So I know Rune Factory 5, which just launched on Switch a few months ago, they went day and date to bring in same-sex marriage for people who want to do that for themselves. Square Enix have not said anything about that in any of the information they've released so far on the game. It is possible that they'll have some sort of marriage system. We do know that the main protagonist is going to be you could be male or female. They're not saying anything about if you pick male you get this, or if you pick female you get that. It's one or the other. You can pick one gender at the start. The protagonist is just named protagonist. They haven't given any details. The red-headed girl that was in the key art here. I'll put the key art back up on the screen. So this is the protagonist here, the one in the white at the front. The one in the back there is Arya. Arya is a scientist who has unfortunately been transported back to the past. That's sort of the backstory for them. And yeah, so they're not being very open about things. But you know, there's other characters. There's other characters like Shrika and Aesel. How they, you know, shape up to things, we've got to wait and see. But you know, we saw in the trailer you can cook things. There are meals to make, potions to make. You know, you can take quests from residents of the town, so you can actually get some more information from them. You know, they'll ask you to go out to get things and all that sort of stuff. You can. They've marked it down as relationships with characters, and basically you can become closer with a character over time, but there's nothing about if you can actually marry them at the end of it. But yeah, so I'm very, very keen on this one. I do like a good farming game, mostly because they tend to be very not open, but they tend to be very you know, relaxing and calming. And you know, after, you know, I review countless shooters and action RPGs and all that sort of stuff, sometimes, you know, a quiet game is definitely what I need. So I'm keen for it for that one. Something that I know made very, very, very many people happy during the week was that the Mega Man Battle Network collection was announced and is coming next year. So the Mega Man Battle Network games started on the Game Boy Advance. I say started, I'll get into why in a moment, but they started on the Game Boy Advance, and basically it was taking the, not the character Mega Man, but sort of the essence of Mega Man, and putting things into a turn-based strategy environment. What is sort of interesting about it is they're doing 10 games from the Game Boy Advance. It was a big series back then. I say, when I mentioned all the Game Boy Advance games, that's because it actually ended up with a few mobile games early on in the mobile phone sort of cycle of things. And if you remember the Wonder Swan, there was even a Wonder Swan game for this, right? And there was even an anime, and the anime went for over 200 episodes. So it was a big thing back, you know, in the mid 2000s. Capcom really pushed it hard, and they did pretty well with it. The Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, because Capcom have to call, you know, all these things legacy collections, includes 1 and 2, and then all the variants of 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So much like Pokemon Red and Blue, there's, you know, Battle Network 3 White and Battle Network 3 Blue. What is interesting is that at retail, the collection will include all of the games in the one packaging. But they're not doing that digitally. Digitally, you'll buy one half of the collection, or you'll buy the other half of the collection. But they've not said how it's being split. They've just said it'll be available as individual purchases. So whether or not that's, you know, Mega Man, you know, 1, 2, and then 1 of 3, 1 of 4, 1 of 5, and 1 of 6, and the other half is, you know, the alternates, we don't know. These games were very, very popular on the emulator scene, as Tabs has pointed out to me. So it is, as I said, it's you know, a Capcom Legacy collection, or an arcade collection, if you will. It's just, you know, we had the fighting one just come out for that. So it is absolutely full of things. There's production, artwork, and sketches. There's music to play through. You know, from across the games. Something that's not here in this trailer, I don't believe, but the game does offer a smoothing option to you know, not doesn't make anything look better. It just takes away the pixelation of the graphics. So you can see here, everything's sort of got, you know, the dotted lines. You know, even if something's a circle, it still has dots on it, you know, because it's made of pixels, made of squares. The problem is that the smooth factor, the smoothing nature of it, it just looks really weird. So I don't think it's in this trailer. I think it was in another trailer that Capcom released for it. What was interesting though is that you know, it was announced obviously during the Nintendo Direct. Actually, I think this is the Capcom trailer, so it will be in here. So in the Nintendo Direct, they didn't show it. But then, here we go, new features. With the game, it's coming obviously to Switch, it's going to PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Here we go, here's the filter. So it just looks really weird. Let me just rewind that and pause in the middle. So that's what it looks like with the the smoothing filter on. They're calling it a high resolution filter. It doesn't increase the resolution. It doesn't make anything brighter. It just makes everything smooth, and it looks really weird. Like, I honestly think it looks horrendous. These filters never generally work, and it's honestly a bit gross. So, but yeah, it's one of those things that they're putting in there. We don't know when this is coming. We just know that it is coming to all the platforms next year. So I said Xbox, so it's not coming to Xbox. It's just Switch, PC, and PS4. There's no word on if it's backwards compatible on PlayStation 5. So if you do have a PS5 and you want this, we'll just wait a little bit until Capcom confirm one way or the other on what it's going to do. Also during the week, as part of the Direct and then afterwards, we got a lot more information about Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. So the details for that one, I won't go into all the details for it just purely because there was so much from it. But during the Direct, we got a new trailer that talked up the not the full, but it sort of explained how the combat works in the new game. Because it does not work in the same way that it did in the previous game. It's very, very similar, but not identical. So in the first game, it was all in a grid, so everything was grid-based. So you could move, 8 spaces. Whether you went up 2, across 2, up 1, across 1, whatever, that didn't matter as long as you moved within the 8. Or if you went through a pipe or used one of your compatriots to launch yourself further, you could get further that way. This time it's in a set radius, so you've got a set radius from where you start to where you can run around in, and you've got a set number of moments that you can move around. So you can't just keep running consistently, but eventually you can run around as often as you want. You can slide into enemies and tackle them. But once you use your weapon or your skill to either attack or heal or whatever the character's skill is at the time, that character is then done. So you can run around as often as you'd like, but you can't run around after you've attacked. So if you attack first, you're stuck wherever you started. It is, as I said, it's very, very cool that they've changed it up in just such a small little way, but I think it's going to do some big things for the game. The other big thing is, we got more details about, the story. So if we have, I think I have a shot. No, I don't have it here. But so Bowser's now a playable character in the game. This weird looking Splatoon cosplaying Rabbid. I don't know why he's dressed like that, but that character's name is Edge. Which even in the extended showcase event, which I've put in the chat, they didn't actually mention the character's name. That was just in the press release that's the character of Edge. So there's a lot going on with it. If you've never played the first game and you do have Nintendo Switch Online, on the 4th of July, I'm running for a week. So the 4th of July through to the end of the 10th. The first game is going to be added as part of the game trial program, so you'll be able to download the full experience from the eShop, and then add it to your library. So you can see here the banner has the eShop. It has the thing saying game trial is there. At the moment, as you can see, it says proceed to purchase on my eShop here. If I purchase this here, I buy the game. What you need to do is down below, you'll see here the download game trials option. This will download it as a full game to your platform. Won't charge you for it, but at the end of the period, if you want to keep playing it, you have to buy it. So very much like a Game Pass sort of thing. Nintendo just do them one at a time for it. We obviously could talk about other games that were announced, like Nier, Bomberman, things like that. But as I said, I wasn't going to go through all the games from the show because there's no reason to. One game I did want to bring up though was Persona, mostly because it's finally coming to Switch. People can stop complaining that Atlus not bringing these games to Switch. I've never been a Persona fan. It's great that they're coming, makes people happy, but it doesn't matter much to me. More so because this is the sort of news, we've had Joker in Smash now for like 3.5 years. You would have thought we'd had the game before the character popped up. But we had Banjo-Kazooie before we had the Banjo-Kazooie games on the Switch. So yeah, it doesn't obviously need to be that case. We got Sora before we got the Kingdom Hearts games as well, and even those aren't actual ports, they're just cloud versions. So yeah, Persona being there makes a lot of people happy, and I'm happy for them. Persona 5 is out on October 21st, the same day it's coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. If you are an Xbox owner and you have Xbox Game Pass, or PC Game Pass, it is coming to those platforms as well as part of that membership. So you don't have to buy it on those if you're a member of those programs. As for Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden, they're due in 2023. We just don't have any date for them yet. The one game that I do want to talk about though is Return to Monkey Island. So Return to Monkey Island is set after the events of Monkey Island 2 and sort of ignores Monkey Island 3, 4 and the Tales From series. So Monkey Island 1 and 2 were designed by Ron Gilbert and Dave Grossman, and had folks like Tim Schafer on board. Monkey Island 3 was done by an entirely different team. They did speak with Ron Gilbert and get some sort of feedback on some of the things they were doing, ask questions, but he wasn't involved. He wasn't designing it. So it's very much the same way that Rare's not involved in the Perfect Dark remake. They may have answered a few questions here or there. One of the big things for this one is the game's been in development for a number of years, and the lead artist for this one was actually from Media Molecule, and I can't think of his name. I want to say Rob, but I'm not sure. And so, he was the lead artist for games like Tearaway and Little Big Planet. So he's now brought, his design style to Monkey Island, which is how we've got this fantastic piece of art here. Now I will put some screens up. I'm not going to play the trailer because it's a Disney-related, piece of music in that, and they'll definitely do something about copyright. But looking at this, I just see it as it's a very stylized, cartoon. It literally could be a cartoon show from, Disney Channel or Cartoon Network. I'm not a fan of the design of Guybrush. I think he's a little out of proportion. But the overall style of the game, I love it. I think it's fantastic. And if you watch the trailer, which I'll pop the story in the chat, but if you watch the trailer, it very much screams Guacamelee. It's not obviously the same style, but it's very, very similar. Sort of that layered, not sort of like a South Park style where all the characters sort of look like they're pieces, pinned together. But yeah, I think the game looks fantastic. As I said, I'm not a big fan of the style of Guybrush just because he seems a little out of proportion. But it fits within the world. And I, as you can't see it on the screen now, but I've the big anthology from Limited Run Games. I have that behind me with all the, the art and the book and the statue and all that. So I'm a very big Monkey Island fan. The only thing that I'm a little concerned about is the voice of LeChuck. Earl Bowen, who voiced LeChuck in Monkey Island 3, and then 4, and then did some of the Tales from Monkey Island games, and then obviously came back in and did the remasters or remakes of 1 and 2. He retired a couple of years ago. No, Guybrush wasn't out of proportion. He was in 3. Guybrush was normal in 1 and 2, like comparatively to everyone else on screen. But in 3 they sort of they stretched him out a lot more. And then 4 they went 3D and it just looked weird overall. And then in the Tales series he was very enhanced, if you will, to make himself look out of place. But I mean, if you look at him here in this key art, he doesn't look out of place here. He looks great here. It's only when I see him in the full frame. So even in this one here, when he's looking from behind, he doesn't look too out of place. but when I see him in the full frame, there's just something about the face that just seems out of proportion. I'm sure, once I'm playing it, I won't notice it and I won't care, because, I'm a Monkey Island fan and I'm chomping at the bit for this one. But it just, that's the only thing that I take away from it, is just it doesn't look right to me. But, again, these guys have, developed this design over years and, been working on it for years. So I'm sure they've gone back and forth on all the things. I'm very, very excited for this. It is coming to PC and all the other consoles. But the big thing is it is coming to Switch first this year. Now, we don't know when it's coming this year. It could come out mid-September, it could come out December 31st, we don't know. What we do know is that if you have a console and you want to play it, you'll have to get a Switch first. As always with these things, we don't know the time frame between the Switch release getting it, or the PC and Switch release, and when it will hit other platforms. It could be a week's time frame between the two. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. We honestly don't know. I would imagine it wouldn't be too big a period of time. But it also could be coming to Switch because maybe there's touchscreen functionality when you're in handheld. So you can, tap on items to pick them up and all that sort of stuff. I don't generally bring these things up here, but I have to sort of highlight this. When this trailer released, a bunch of inconsiderate assholes started harassing Ron Gilbert on social media and on his site, on his blog, and to the point where he is now stopping sharing anything personally on his Twitters, on the blog. It's all stopped. The site's now no longer active because the comments were apparently getting to the point where they were, they weren't just, I don't like the way your game looks. They were, hurtful comments. And again, everyone's entitled to an opinion. That is not what I'm trying to say here. If you don't like something, you're well within your rights to say you don't like it. But the person you're telling you don't like is well within their rights to tell you to go away. The problem is the comments weren't just, hey, I'm not a fan of your art style. I like the colors or whatever. I'll wait and see. No, they were, as Tabs is putting here in the comments, they're disgraceful. It is honestly a pathetic attempt by small-minded, self-entitled people to say, hey, I don't like what you've done. You've destroyed my thing. You deserve whatever. It's also this week, unfortunately, brought it out. Out of nowhere, God of War rumors started circulating again, and one specific, and I'll put this in quotes here, journalist. He freelances for a bunch of sites, loves to put his name on everything, saying, I know all this stuff. He started talking about, how the game's going to be delayed, or, there's going to be, special edition information released very, very soon. On the 30th, that came and went, and because there was no news, people started harassing, sending very vulgar messages to members of the development team at Santa Monica Studios. Very, very similar to this situation where they're not getting what they want. So rather than just being, grown-ups about it and taking it and saying, okay, obviously that was a rumor. It didn't prove to be accurate. I'll wait for more. I'll wait for official news. And that's why, like, if you go to Maxi-Geek, we almost never post rumors. Simply because there are far too many times where these rumors, it becomes a game of telephone, where somebody said one thing and then somebody repeated it and it's slightly different. Not enough that the message is distorted, but it's just slightly different. So when somebody else repeats that message, that becomes different again. The fourth time it's repeated, it's actually quite different to what it should be. And then, 60, 70, 80 repetitions later, the statement is now completely different. So rumors are very, very much like that, is where, one person puts on a social media platform, oh, I heard they're going to talk about, a big game this week. And all of a sudden, a week later, it's not a big game. It was, they're going to talk about the new Tom Clancy's kart racing game. That a friend of somebody who works at Ubisoft Milan is, working with. I use Milan because they're working on Mario plus Rabbids, so that's not them. They're not doing anything other than that. So every time these rumors start up, people, You know, I've had people ask me, why don't I talk about rumors? And that's literally why. It's because they're rumors. We're not sharing. It's like when we saw there was one photo leak from Obi-Wan, you know, during their filming, and that was Ewan McGregor walking from the trailer to the set, right? Now, this is a character that everyone knows. We know what Ewan McGregor looks like. We know what he looks like as Obi-Wan, but they still had him wrapped in a big sort of, you know, not a Jedi robe, but a big sort of, you know, sheet essentially, and had a mask on his face for COVID, and his hair was covered and everything, right? He looked like he was more ready to sit down on a couch and just relax than go to a set to do some filming. But they kept all that secret because they wanted people to be surprised and delighted when they finally got the chance to see it. So, rumors aside, if you see a rumor and the rumor proves to be false, just move on, right? There's no reason whatsoever that anyone should feel entitled to go out and start harassing creators because, you know, they don't like what they're doing or they didn't get the information they desired. If you think it's so easy to make a video game, go ahead and do it, right? But then, you know, you're opening yourself up to criticism, and if you think you wouldn't be criticized, then you're not living in the real world. So that's my little rant on that one. You can tell everyone you want tabs about Tom Clancy's kart racing. Given that Ubisoft loves to use the Tom Clancy brand and all the various games in everything they can, it wouldn't surprise me if there isn't one on Ubisoft Nano, which I'm literally going to check that right now. Ubisoft Nano. So Nano is, if anyone remembers Newgrounds, or, you know, Flash-based things, it's basically this thing that Ubisoft Vietnam makes. They make Flash games, not Flash games, but Flash-style games from various things, where they try and tell, you know, things here. So there's a game called Idle Miner Space Rush. There's Might and Magic Armies. It's an actual Might and Magic game. There's an Assassin's Creed game. There's a couple of Rabbids games. There's a coming soon game. There's a Trackmania game on here. So, you know, there's a whole bunch of things. There's a Hungry Shark. There's a Bomberman clone. So there's a bunch of stuff there, but no kart racing. So, yeah, if you want to tell people that Ubisoft are making a kart racing game, go right ahead. But the point of it is that if they don't make one, you know, don't find random employees and start abusing them, because it's not on. Mike Tyson made a comment years ago, and, you know, violence is never the answer unless the actual, you know, somebody asks you a question and the answer is the word violence. But, you know, he made the statement, and it's so very true, that social media and online in general has made people too comfortable to voice their opinions without the fear of getting punched in the face. Basically, if you say something to somebody on social media, I always use the general rule that if I was to say this to their face in person, would they feel offended enough to punch me? And if the answer is yes, or, you know, some degree of they would do something to retaliate, then don't do it. You know, the age-old thing, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, applies in this situation. This is not me ranting and saying I know better than anyone else. This is me saying that these people are putting their heart and soul into these games. You know, be patient, wait, and enjoy it. I'm not convinced on the style for Guybrush. I think the face is a little out of proportion, but that's literally one iota of this entire game. The voice is there for Guybrush. Dominic Artato is back in there. Murray's back in there. The lady who voices Elaine in the first games, she's back as well. So they're doing everything else, you know, accurately, but there's one little thing, and the overall art style, people got nods over. So yeah, behave, be nice, treat everyone fairly, and, you know, we should be okay going forward. Right, that little rant is over. We're going to talk quickly about the start of the month, which means the PlayStation Plus lineup is announced, the Xbox lineup is announced, and Nintendo and Sega announced a bunch of games today for the Mega Drive app for Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack owners. Right, so let's get into these quickly. So PlayStation Plus Essential members get these, as well as if you're on the Deluxe or the Premium you get the deluxe or extra, you get these as well. But the essential plan is what was original PlayStation Plus. This is the same thing as it has been for 7-8 years now. It's just now with a new name, new word attached to the end of it. So if you're on the standard one where it's $80 a year, as of July 5th, so Tuesday, you'll be able to add these 3 games to your library. So the PlayStation 4 only title, so it will play on your PlayStation 5, but there is no PlayStation 5 version of it, is The Man of Medan, the first release in the Dark Pictures anthology from Supermassive Games, who just released The Quarry via 2K. So that is there as well. So this is the first of 4 games. So if you do enjoy it, there's 3 other ones that they'll happily sell you. But don't just wait around for those to be added to the service, because you may be waiting quite a while. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, will be available for both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So if you do have either console, you can get the game and it'll be optimized for both platforms. And then also coming on the day, and also releasing on all platforms on the day, including others, will be Arcade-Geddon. So this will be both a PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 game. But if you don't have this game, you'll be able to pick it up. Don't have a PlayStation. Let me restart that again. If you don't have a PlayStation, you'll be able to pick up the game on either PC or Xbox as well on the same day. So, as I said, this is probably a pretty diverse lineup. Man of Medan is a horror game. It's not horror, but it's suspense horror. Crash Bandicoot is obviously a family one, and Arcade-Geddon is a multiplayer experience. So it's definitely a little something for everyone in that collection of games. Moving over to Xbox, this is probably even a more broader experience, all themed sort of around adventure. So, starting, today, there are 2 games available. Xbox are a little weird. So PlayStation don't go on the first day of the month. They always go the first Tuesday of the month. Whereas Xbox, they do theirs on rolling periods. So on the first of the month, there'll be 1 game that's available for the length of that month. Then there's 2 games. One will be the first 15 days of the month. The other will be the second 15 days of the month. And then there's another one which starts on the middle of the month and then rolls through until the middle of next month. So they just have to complicate it for no unnecessary reason. But in terms of what's available for the full month of July, it's Beast of Maravilla Island, which is basically Pokemon Snap, but not within the confines of a little cart. I say that because it's a photo. You walk around this island, you take photos of things. It's not exactly Pokemon Snap, so don't go in expecting that, but that's sort of the quickest way I can describe it to you. Running from the middle of July to the middle of August, so this is the other half, this is the other game, will be Relicta. I can never pronounce that. Relicta. And it is a puzzle platformer game, kind of like sort of a fusion between Portal and The Witness. So it's not a Portal game. It's not Portal where you've got, you're not making portals through walls and jumping through them and all that. But it's more akin to that style of puzzler. Looks very much like The Witness. And then the games that will be for the first sort of 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks of the month is, the first one is Thrillville Off the Rails, which is an interesting theme park related game. And I say interesting because it's developed by Frontier. So Frontier, their most recent sort of theme release for this was Planet Coaster. They did a console release for that, and it's fantastic. They had it on PC, it's on the consoles, it's a great game. These guys got started in theme park games after Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. Atari, a few years later, hired them to develop Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. So they did that and the 2 expansions on PC. They are not involved in the Switch port of that, the phone port of that, or any of the other Roller Coaster Tycoon games, just 3 on PC way back in the day. But then after that, they did the Thrillville games for LucasArts. This is a LucasArts title. So, while LucasArts were making, Star Wars, The Force Unleashed and all that, they were also making Thrillville Off the Rails. Then Frontier moved on to Scream Park, which was an Xbox One launch game, which is basically, what's the best way to describe it? If you know the Bridge Constructor series, where you've got to like try and build a bridge and get people across it, it's very much the same sort of style as that, but it's, you know, roller coasters. Not exactly that, but that's the quickest way to describe that one. And then the second half of this month is Torchlight 1. So Torchlight 3, I believe, is in Game Pass now. Torchlight 2, I'm not sure if that is or isn't. But Torchlight 1 will be included as part of the July lineup. So it is interesting. As I said, the lineup has obviously changed. I can't remember what the lineup was for last month now. Yeah, I can't remember what it is. But the second half, the one that started in the middle of June, is still available, whatever game it happens to be. But yeah. Well, they made two Thrillville games. And I'll be honest, it's been so long that I can't even remember if they did anything with the LucasArts branding as a part of it. I do know, and this might blow your mind, Tabs, but there is an actual DS game. So the series itself did hit the DS, and I believe there was a Wii version as well. It was, yeah. So there was a PlayStation Portable and a DS game, and then there was there was a Wii version. And interestingly, not that I've sort of talked about it, but this Off the Rails is the sequel to Thrillville, the original. So Thrillville, the original game, was not well received. People did not like that one all that well. It didn't set the charts. There was just so many things that people didn't like about it. But then, yeah, they did the sequel, and that went everywhere, and people loved that. So, yeah, that's you know, definitely one to play if you've got an Xbox and you're a fan of theme park games. It's not a super sim game. So if you're looking for something like Planet Coaster, but you know, older generation, it's definitely not that. So if you go in for it, you're going to be disappointed, but it is still a fun game. Moving on to the Sega-related games for Nintendo Switch. So every sort of 2 months, we've had these things be announced out of nowhere for the Mega Drive app. So we got the initial launch games, and then we had the December games, and then we should have had some in February, but due to the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, Nintendo delayed the release of these. Of that month's lineup, I should say. So they released sort of mid-March. Then we got the end of April, and now we've got here the end of June for, you know, the US. So the next lot should come either end of August, early September. But you know, while we only ever get one game, you know, at a time with Nintendo 64, for this one they dumped 4 games. So across the Mega Drive, we've got Comic Zone, Mega Man: The Wily Wars, which is just Mega Man 1, 2, and 3. Remade from the NES to the Mega Drive, Target Earth, and Zero Wing. If the name Target Earth sounds vaguely familiar to you, that is because it is the one that started the meme. Sorry, not Target Earth, Zero Wing. So Zero Wing is the one here in the picture that has the no box art for it. Let me pop it on, see if they actually have it in the... yeah, so this is Zero Wing. So sort of the original meme is all your base belong to us. I think they might even have it in the trailer. There you are. What was it on that one? Yeah, so... I don't know of anything that's older than this. I honestly think this is I consider this to be the original meme. Maybe the NES Zelda game. You know, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this is probably one of them, but this was the first sort of one that I can really think of. So, yeah. As I said, you know, 4 more games. That brings the Mega Drive library up to 29 titles. compared to the 16 from the Nintendo 64. So yeah, I think it's great. As I said, that they're doing it. There's a lot to enjoy in these games. Some of them play a little weird with the button layouts, the default button layouts, because of the Mega Drive, button combinations. But they're not hard to remap because you can do that. It also helps if you learn them or remap them rather than buying the controller for when you're traveling. You don't have to take another controller with you. Finally, we're at the end of the episode, so it's time to talk about the games that are coming out in the next week or so. However, because this is the first episode of the month, we're going to actually dive into the games coming out this month. And for that, we turn to my fancy graphics of the games of July 2022. So there's a few, as I said, well, always these things, there's always caveats and little things. This list is accurate as of today. If somebody delays a game before it's released, or there's a showcase that pops up sometime during the month, there is an Annapurna Interactive showcase on the 28th of July, so at the very end, so we might get a couple of random drops from there, but there's no other showcases expected in between here and then. So unless Nintendo announces a direct for next week and drop a few of their own games, there's nothing expected to change. We are entering into this sort of quiet period, so July, August is technically the quiet period of the year now, because all the developers in the Northern Hemisphere sort of take time off over this period, because it is their summer period, and it's just sort of one of those times where it always just sort of quietens down. Right, moving on. So F1 22 is out today. Officially. It did launch the other day on the 28th as if you ordered the Championship Edition, which is like the special edition, you got the game 3 days early, but today is the official launch day of it. I mentioned this in last week's show. You're not wrong, Tabs. There's been a few too many directs lately. Thankfully, I'm not a Xenoblade fan, so I'm not too worried about the Xenoblade Direct. But yeah, so as I was saying, the game launched last week for Championship, or earlier this week for the Championship Edition, today for everyone else. This is going to get confusing. The series used to be called, like last year was F1 2021. The year before was F1 2020. For some reason this year they just shortened it to F1 22. I don't know why they did that. It makes no sense to me, but that's what they did. The reason why it's going to get confusing is because at the end of August, Frontier, the people we just talked about with Thrillville and Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo, they're simulation games. They also do Elite Dangerous. That company is releasing F1 Manager 22. So it's not F1 Manager, nothing else because it's the first one. It's not F1 Manager 2022. They probably saved a lot more on logo design, Tabs, and $40, but I get your point. But yeah, so the F1 Manager game is F1 Manager 22, and then there's F1 22. So F1 22 is if you want to race the cars. F1 Manager 22 is if you want to manage everything else about the sport except racing the cars. You get to see the races. They've got like what's the word? Oh, I can't think of it. The broadcast style, camera, so you can actually watch it because you'll be making changes and adjustments as the races go on. Calling drivers into the pits, refueling, changing tires, all that sort of stuff. You have to manage all that. Sort of not in real time. Things slow down if you need them to, but that's it. So yeah, just be careful. There's two games with very, very similar names, and it's not like we're getting Deep Impact, Armageddon, where the concept is the same, but the names are very, very different. Obviously, they're movies, not games. But these are very, very similar names, and they're almost identical in terms of what they're offering. So yeah, just be careful on that one. But yeah, F1 22 is out today. As I said, on July 5th, Arcadegeddon is out for all platforms bar Switch, and it is included in PlayStation Plus on launch day. July 8th, we'll see Klonoa Phantasy Star Reverie Series, which is Klonoa 1 and 2, being remade for all platforms. Interestingly, the Switch version has disappeared from the eShop. No idea why. It was there over the weekend. It was there earlier in the week, but now it's for some reason not there. It is still available to order on EB Games and JB Hi-Fi and all that. It still has the same date. It's all there for the other platforms as well. Just the digital version is apparently not listed. Also on July 8th, if you're not in the mood for cute and cuddly and bright with Klonoa, you can go for Madison, which is coming to Switch, PC, PS4, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. No Xbox One, just Xbox Series X and S. And it is a horror game. So if the bright and cuddly doesn't do it for you, maybe horror will. Announced sort of out of nowhere today, on July 12th, FIST, which is the acronym stands for Forged in Shadow Torch, is coming to Switch. So the game is already available on PS4, PS5, and PC, but out of nowhere they just announced it is coming to Switch next, this month. So surprise. A day later for that one. Klonoa is my type of game too, not Madison. I have a niece named Madison. She probably doesn't want me to say that, but she'll get over it. On July 13 will be Loopmancer. I do have it listed here for all the platforms. It is just PC on that day. So PC via Steam and Epic. It is a roguelite hack and slash. So it's very, very similar to Contra in terms of its play style. Old school Contra, not recent Contra. But, every time you die, you go back to the start of the day where you wake up in bed and you have to go through all the bits and pieces again. So, July 19 will see the narrative adventure As Dusk Falls arrive for PC and Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S. It is a Game Pass title as well, so it's available for PC and Xbox Game Pass. Also on July 19 will be Endling Extinction is Forever. And it is Endling. There's an L in the middle there. It's not Ending Extinction is Forever. It's Endling. You, in this game, which is coming to Switch, PC, Xbox One, and PS4, you play as Mama Fox. You are the last Mama Fox around at the moment, and you have a couple of cubs, or 3 cubs, or whatever you want to think. You have a number of cubs, fox babies, and you have to get them to, safety in a world that is literally, doing everything it can to get in your way. On July 19, we'll see the release of Stray for PC, PS4, and PS5. This is the cat game from Annapurna Interactive, where you're not playing an anthropomorphic cat. This is not a Puss in Boots, title. This is you playing as an actual cat. So you don't have the ability to run up walls. You're not a super cat. You're just a cat. You're a cat in a world with cybernetic life forms who, generally are afraid of anything biological, which is what the cat is. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on there for that one. So that's out on July 19. 2 days later, coming to all the platforms, is Hellpie. Now, Hellpie is a 3D platformer akin to Mario, except you play as a demon who he doesn't get power-ups from hats or anything like that, or special items that come out of questionable blocks. Instead, you have a cherub that you enslave, and you use the cherub powers to fly around and double jump and all sorts of stuff. July 21st, we'll see the release of Wayward Strand for all platforms. Wayward Strand is the game developed down here in Australia, in Melbourne, by Ghost Pattern. It is their debut title, and it was revealed back in April during the Indie World event. This is the one where if you spend the entire game, which plays out in real time, at the front, or plays out in game real time, at the front of the ship, if you spend the entire time there, stories and events still happen elsewhere on the ship, and you have to replay the game and go to those portions to find out what's going on. On July 22, Live Alive will be released for Switch. There is a demo for the game available now on the eShop. You can play the opening to the first 3 chapters of the game. And the reason why we say the first 3 chapters and not, half an hour or whatever, is because each chapter focuses on a different character. There are 8 playable characters, so you will get the first 3 playable characters available to you, and you'll get to play portions of their stories, with all the progress you make being carried across to the full game if you are someone who's interested in it. After the Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase finished up the other day, Nintendo posted this Treehouse Live video onto their YouTube channel, which is a 40-minute deep dive into Live Alive, if you're keen on watching that. The reason why this is special is because Nintendo are helping develop the game in terms of cost. So it is a Switch exclusive, Nintendo are publishing it, and it is a remake of the Super Nintendo game that never released outside of Japan. So this is a big thing for this game. Also on July 22nd, we'll see Capcom Arcade Second Stadium. Not Capcom Arcade Stadium 2 or Capcom Arcade Stadium the Second, but Capcom Arcade Second Stadium, because why not? This one is for Switch, PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4, so no current gen consoles. As with the first release, Capcom Arcade Stadium, there will be one game included as part of the shell download, but then the remaining games will be purchasable either individually for a few dollars each, or in bundles where you can save some money and get like 10 games at once. I'm not keen on this one purely because I don't think they needed to do, the second stadium stuff. They could have just done it as, a new wave of games for the first one, but what do I know? On July 28th, we'll finally see the release of Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 from Intercreates. This is the third one in the Gunvolt series, so it's very, very, very good. Can't wait for that one. Also on July 28th for Switch and PC, Azure Sunstrike is just a Switch game. On July 28th, we will also see Bear and Breakfast finally release. We got the confirmation on this one back during the Indie Showcase back in April from Nintendo. Basically, you're a bear, you run a bed and breakfast, but because you're a bear, you're not very good at it. But you have to be careful because everything you do, causes problems, as we see here in this animation. The problem is that the woods you've elected to build your bed and breakfast in, there's something that goes bump in the night. And while you're out and exploring the world to find materials to build your bed and breakfast, there may be something that tries to fight back. So yeah, it looks very, very cool. It definitely gives me some like Stardew Valley vibes. I said it is going to PC. This is the PC build, which is why we're seeing a mouse cursor on the screen. But yeah, so I'm sort of excited for it purely because I think it's going to be a fun one. I said I do like my nice, calming, relaxing games. But as I said, when night comes around, there's things that go bump in the night, so you have to be very careful about that. Also on the 28th, there is Captain Velvet Meteor: The Jump Plus Dimensions. Now this one is different. It's being published by Shusei Games out of Japan. There will be a story up tomorrow that talks about more of the content available for it. But the reason why this is different is because it features a lot of characters from the Shonen Jump manga. So if you're an anime fan and you've been watching Spy X Family, Spy Cross Family, there are characters from that. So Lloyd Forger, the main sort of male character from that series, he'll be in this game, and there's a few others as well. So yeah, it's an interesting looking game. As you can see here, it's sort of turn-based but not turn-based. It's tactical but not tactical. Yeah, it could be very, very good. It could be very, very bad. But the fact that it features these characters, which you traditionally don't get a lot of crossover from the Shonen Jump stuff. There was the game had the Dragon Ball Z characters, the Naruto characters and all that for a while. They were all in there, so that's there as well. But I can't think of what it is now. But there was a fighting game from Sega, Capcom, and I think Konami. So yeah, that looks very, very interesting. On the 28th, there are two games that nobody cares about. Nobody cares about these games at all. I'm kidding. Digimon Survive will finally release for all platforms on the 29th. So that's Switch, PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X and S, and PlayStation 5. It is the first Digimon game in a number of years. Mostly because this game was supposed to release in 2020. So it's taken quite a long time for it to actually release. And until it's actually in the hands of people, I will just hold back my enthusiasm for its actual release. Also on the 29th, though, we'll see the release of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for the Switch. No, not Jump Force. It was another one. I'll find it while I'm talking. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming out on the 29th of July. It was apparently due for a September release, but it was brought forward out of nowhere, and Splatoon picked up the September release window. The game in question that I'm thinking of, Tabs, is Jump Ultimate Stars for the DS, because it released in Japan, and then it took like 2 years for them to bring it over to the West. That's the one I was thinking of, because it was like the first time it had ever happened. Jump Force is the most recent one, but the Jump Superstars series is the first time they ever did it. So yeah, that's why I was that's why Jump Force, it makes sense because it's in the name, but yeah. So with Xenoblade Chronicles and Digimon on the 29th of July, that wraps up the month. So there's no games expected for the 30th or 31st at this stage. But as I said, these things, they always change because games will get delayed, they will get announced for, things. I don't think we're going to see any games for the 30th or 31st because, that is a weekend. We generally don't get games released on a weekend. But, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But that brings us to the end of the show, because that is all the news we have for the week. I think it's going to be a very busy week. Did I say match point? Did I scroll past that one? I didn't include it. I missed a game. So on July 7th, Matchpoint Tennis will be releasing for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S. I'll have to add that in. I completely missed that one. Even though it's in the... So even though it's in the art at the top, you can see Nick Kyrgios's face here off to the side. I completely forgot to add it into the page itself, so I'll fix that after the show. But that is a tennis game being developed down here in Melbourne by Taurus Games. It is also coming to Switch, but the Switch version won't be out till October 20th. But the game does offer full cross-play across all versions, and much like everything else, it is coming into Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass on launch day, so if you have either of those platforms, you'll be able to enjoy it there. It is a tennis game in where the venues look like the venues, so you'll go to Wimbledon, but you won't be in the actual stadiums from Wimbledon. You'll basically be in the Wish.com version of these stadiums. The developers opted to do that purely because they didn't want the whole experience to be based around you visiting these famous venues to play, because you're not caring about the venue when you're playing a digital game. You're playing the game of tennis. They focused on the actual experience of playing tennis, rather than the, tennis venue itself. So there is gear, so there's licensed gear. So there's Nike gear in there, there's Uniqlo gear, stuff that the actual athletes wear. And there are licensed athletes. You're not getting Roger Federer or Novak Djokovic or anything like that. But there's a whole bunch of athletes. Nick Kyrgios is in there. He's one of them. I think there's 16 from memory. And obviously you can create your own entire new character, new athlete to go in and play these games. So that's on the 7th of July. I said I'll add that back in. But with that does bring us to the end of another show. So that means we are wrapping up. We will have some reviews going up over the weekend and early next week for various things. Obviously, there will be more news that we will share. We will be back on Sunday for the next, Sunday sessions where we just play whatever we want to play. Who knows what we'll play this weekend. Maybe we'll play some Mario Kart. If I get a chance, maybe I'll get around to fixing Oblivion, and we'll play some Oblivion. Who knows? It's just going to be whatever we decide to play. I had an idea. Maybe I thought we'll bring in and just play the free games. So, Epic Games do, a couple of free games every week. With all the Xbox and PlayStations, we could play those games as well, or the Switch stuff, So there's definitely things we could play with it from there. So we'll be back on Sunday for that. However, we will be back on Tuesday for the next installment of the Games Bond stream, where we're playing through Quantum of Solace Casino Royale on the Wii. It does struggle at points. There's some frame rate issues there, here and there, but it's mostly a very, very solid game. So I am enjoying that. And then also we'll be back next Friday for another episode of the Maxi-Geek Show. Until we see you online next time, happy gaming.